Hey guys, welcome in to another episode of the Inside Voice podcast. For those of you who are unfamiliar, I'm Jess, and I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're new or an OG from back in the day, I'm just so glad you're here. We are in the midst of a series that I'm calling Season's Greetings because, well, it's the holiday season. And there are greetings that we see all over the place. Mostly just words that, honestly, they're everywhere. They're on ornaments, they're on tea towels, they're on pillows, all sorts of decorations that we see everywhere, the messaging of Christmas, things like joy and cheer and hope and love and peace. When I say the word peace, does that kind of like stir up some emotions in you? Like, do you feel yourself maybe like getting a little hot, a little warm because you don't experience peace on a regular basis in your life and just saying the word peace stirs up some anxiety? Or do you actually feel peace kind of come over you and you think, yeah, peace. I love peace. I tap into peace as much as possible. That's the thing with these words for Christmas. You know, they're thrown around so often. I think we forget that there really is true meaning to them, and there really is emotions that are stirred up because of these words. I mean, that's why they're used, right? They stir up emotions, especially this time of year. And so today, I want to dive into peace. The first two episodes that we did of this series, we did cheer and we did joy. Sometimes those are used interchangeably, so we broke down the differences between the two of them. And of course, one of the things that I want to do throughout this series is not only get to the nitty gritty and like the ground level of these words, but I want us to figure out how to cultivate these words in our own lives and use them, not just during this holiday season, but any time of year. And I don't know about you, but those words, you know, the joy and the cheer and the hope and the love and the peace, those are things that I want in my life all year round, not just during the holidays. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here. So we can use these things during the holiday season, but also so we can use them in 2026. So let's dive in. We'll start with the definition of peace. I looked this up online, so take it with a grain of salt. But peace is defined as freedom from disturbance, which I think is such a simple way to put it. It's also a way that it explains so much, you know? It's like you're free. You're not disturbed. You're tranquil. That's another word that's used interchangeably with peace. Peace is also defined as a state or period in which there's no war or war has ended. So we hear about wartime, we hear about peacetime, like in the grand scheme of things across the globe and throughout history. But also think about your own life. I mean, there may be periods of your own life that have felt like war, like you're just every day you get up, it's a grind and a battle, and you're fighting thoughts in your mind, you're fighting distractions and disturbances in your life. You're fighting, maybe actually fighting with other people. Maybe you've got arguments and disagreements with people that are not settled, you know, like then there's moments of your life where you feel peace, you know? So there's like this idea of war and conflict even in our own lives, and this time of peace where like things are going well and you have harmony with others. And what is the phrase that people say? It's like you're either going into a battle or a trial, you're either in one or you're just coming out of it. And so peace would be like you're coming out of it, you're feeling better, you're on the other side of whatever it was that you were fighting. And now it's like you get a little bit of rest, a little bit of relaxation, harmony, and peace. I also saw that peace is defined as a greeting or a salutation, you know, like back in the 90s and early 2000s, you'd say peace out, you know, peace out. I still say that a lot. I am a millennial. And those habits, they don't die easily, you know. But also I think about in different cultures, people use peace as a greeting or a salutation. I think specifically in Hebrew, the word shalom, you know, that is one way that we see it in the Bible, we see it in scripture, that the Jews would greet one another. They would say shalom, or they would say shalom, shalom, which I've been told, and my dad is totally going to correct me on this because he actually speaks and reads Hebrew. But I believe when you repeat a word in the Hebrew language, it means the perfect version of that. So it's like the better version of it. It's like extra extra, the whipped cream on top. So when you say shalom shalom, it's perfect peace. You're wishing perfect peace on the other person. And don't you just love that? Like I kind of want all of us to go around and just wish shalom on people, but also just wish peace on people. Like, wouldn't that be such a different greeting rather than, hey, sup? you. I've been getting on my husband's case lately because when he wants my attention, he goes, look, like there's no, hey, or babe, or sweetheart, greatest thing that's ever happened in my life. Like that would be a great way to get my attention. I would totally be willing to give you my attention. But look, not the best way to greet somebody, but what if we went about our day? People would think that we were psychotic if we did this, but we would around, each and every day, just greeting people with peace. Peace, how are you? Peace, I give to you. Peace is yours. Have peace. Be peaceful. Be peaceful and merry. Try that the next time you go to like the coffee shop or something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's going to be weird. Maybe you could use peace as your coffee name. That way when they call out your order, they're going to be like, I have a peppermint mocha for peace. Yes, you do. Peace among the nations. Okay, I totally digress. ChatGPT defines peace as this: an internal sense of tranquility, there's that word again, emotional balance, and lack of stress and conflict. Definitely something I think we could all use in our lives these days. It also defines it as the absence of violence, conflict, or hostility between individuals, groups, or nations. Again, peace can be felt and peace can be used at every level, whether it's personally and internally for you, among your coworkers, among your family members, among communities and nations. And it's just what the world needs now is peace. I know the song doesn't say that, it's love, sweet love, but peace I think would be great. And isn't that what like all the beauty pageant queens would say back in the day? World peace. It's like Miss Congeniality. What do you want the world to have? Peace. It's not crazy, okay? It actually would be a good thing for us to have. Peace to me is basically the same thing. It's the state of being that I think we're all striving for. We want peace in our personal lives. We want peace in our households. We want peace in traffic. We want peace at the coffee shop and at the grocery store and, Christmas shopping at the mall with crowds. We want peace. We want peace in our minds. We want peace to surround us and keep us out of strife or anxiety. I think peace is a solution to anxiety. It is a result of dealing with your anxiety. We talked last week about joy and gratitude and how those two things are like the opposite of anxiety. So if you can cultivate that stuff into your life, a result of that is going to be peace. But I think that peace can be found in such simple ways, like just stillness and quiet. Being out in nature, I think, stimulates peace. And it comes from God as well. God gives us peace that surpasses all understanding. He is, Jesus is the Prince of Peace. Now, when it comes to Christmas time, what is peace in a Christmas setting? Like this time of year, we're seeing peace on all of these ornaments and decorations. It's all over Home Goods and Hobby Lobby. Christmas peace is like warmth and togetherness. Like when you think of it this time of year, that's some of the things that you think of or feel. With the birth of Christ comes peace on earth, thanks to reconciliation with our Creator. Peace during this time of year, it really stems from feelings of nostalgia and a shared love of the season. I think one of the reasons why this is such a wonderful time of year is it's hard to find somebody who doesn't like Christmas. You know what I mean? It's almost cliche to say that Christmas is your favorite time of year because I feel like it's everybody's favorite time of year. There are going to be some exceptions, and you're probably thinking, well, what about this? And blah, blah, blah. You don't know my story. I don't. I really don't. But I do think that Christmas is just a joyful, wonderful, peaceful time of year. And I think it's one of the reasons why we love it so much. going back to biblically speaking, when we think of peace and various scriptures, the Lord gives us peace, peace that is not like the peace of the world. His peace surpasses all understanding, and it guards our hearts and minds. I love that there are things that we receive in a relationship with Christ that protect us. It's like we want these things to be poured on us, and we want these things to be in our life, and they're wonderful and beautiful, but also it's like these are things that we can use in times of trouble. I use the word weapon. I feel like that's really an aggressive word to use. But yeah, it's something that we can actually wield as we go about life and as we get out into the world, and there's stresses and hardships and people that get under our skin, like these are things that we can use in those times, and peace is definitely one of those. Those who trust in the Lord will be kept in perfect peace. We're called to be peacemakers and live at peace with everyone. I believe the scripture says, as far as it depends on you, let there be peace among you and other, make peace with everyone. And, one of the things that we talked about just before Thanksgiving, we did a whole series on dealing with difficult people. And when it comes to, I think especially with family, it's hard to be a peacemaker. It's hard to, cultivate that kind of atmosphere, because family's tough sometimes, and family, as much as like they're the closest people to you and it should be the easiest to forgive them, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for us to put aside grudges with family for whatever reason. It should be the easiest for us. So one of the things that we talked about in that was, as far as it depends on you, do your best to fix the situation and establish peace in the family. Those who promote peace have joy. That's another thing that we find in the Bible. And peace is a fruit of the Spirit. If you are a follower of Christ, people will know you by your peace, whether it's the peace that you carry within yourself, the peace that, you carry, and somebody looks at you and they're like, man, they're going through so much. There's so much on their plate right now. I know what they're having to walk through right now is really heavy, but they're so peaceful about it. They will know you by that peace. But I think also, if you are, like we talked about, you're trying to cultivate that atmosphere in every environment that you're in, this environment of peace, people will know that you are a follower of Christ because you're trying to do that. Okay. There's just certain things that when Christ gets in you, it's like water and nourishment going into a tree. There are certain things that you will produce and put out into the world, and those are your fruits. And peace is one of them. Peace, patience, love, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. Those are the fruits of the Spirit that we are known by. And I just love that the closer we get to Christ and the more that we walk with him in our lives, because he is the Prince of Peace, it's like we become more like him and we create that and push that out into the world. With that being said, what are some practical ways that we can cultivate peace this time of year? If we're seeing it all over, if it's written on all of our, Starbucks holiday mugs and stuff like that, how do we actually make it and apply it in a way that is tangible, rather than just expecting to feel it one day? I think there are some things that we can do regularly to experience peace on a regular basis, whether it's the holiday season or not. When it comes to the holidays, however, keeping in mind the reason for the season, I think, solves a lot of our problems. If you're anxious or stressed this time of year, recentering and refocusing on the fact that Christmas is not about presents and wrapping paper and who got the biggest and nicest thing and who has the best decorations. Like, that's not what this season is about. It's about the birth of Christ. It's about his arrival on earth, and the fact that him stepping down from the throne, from heaven onto earth, taking on mankind, taking on the body and the flesh of a human, walking this earth with us, living this perfect life, and then going to the cross and dying such an awful death for us. Like, this is the beginning of that story. Christmas is the beginning of redemption and direct access to the Father. And like we talked about, reconciliation with Him. There's no more like hoops to jump through. There's no more like, we got to take that pilgrimage to the temple and make our sacrifices. Like, we get direct access to God because Jesus came to earth and provided a way for us. And Christmas is the start of that. I think that's why his very presence on this earth, his very arrival on this earth, brings peace, and allows us to access that peace from the Father anytime that we need it, because we have the Holy Spirit within us. It's like we get direct access to God. Like, that's incredible. And so remembering that the start of all of that, that beautiful, redemptive love story with God started during the Christmas season. It started with the birth of Christ. And I think if we can keep that in perspective, like, that'll solve a lot of our issues, and that definitely will bring us some peace. Similar to what we talked about last week, it's just a good practice to have in general, but focusing on gratitude, again, I think that this is one of those things that it's said so often, like, just be thankful, gratitude, 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 get a gratitude journal, write down like what you're thankful for every single day. Those are wonderful, beautiful practices, but like, the reason why is because there's depth to it. This isn't just some sort of, I don't know, nice to say greeting card headline, reading rainbow, Barney and Friends messaging. Like, this is actual, tangible things that we can do. Like, practicing gratitude is something that we actually can do that has power. So if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling stressed, if there's strife in your life, if there's conflict in your life, you can start dealing with it right now simply by practicing gratitude. You can't be stressed, you can't be anxious when you're thankful. It's like they're oil and water, they don't mix. And so I would encourage you to choose gratitude, and with that, usher peace into your life. This can be done in so many ways. I think, honestly, one of the reasons why we feel so much anxiety in our lives in general is because we don't carve out a time to just slow down and analyze what's going on in our lives. Now, you're probably thinking, but I think about my life all the time, Jess, and I'm stressed out, and I'm frustrated, and I've got anxiety in my life, and that's all I think about. It probably is all you think about, but it's more like a dread sense. I think we can cultivate peace in our life if we just take a moment, like at the end of every day, and just think about the day. Like, what went well? What didn't go well? What can I work on tomorrow that would help me not be so stressed, not to be so anxious, and be honest with yourself in those conversations. I think a lot of times we think, oh, I did fine. It wasn't the best day, but it'll be fine tomorrow. But like, really thinking about what could help you do better the next day, it sounds so juvenile, and you're probably thinking, I don't need to do that. I'm an adult. I think about it, but I think a gratitude journal or a planner or something would be really beneficial for all of us, just to kind of gather our thoughts, gather ourselves, and set ourselves up for success the next day, rather than rush through the day, binge watch, when we get home, stuff our face with food, and then crawl into bed and doom scroll for the next couple of hours, just trying to numb ourselves so that way maybe we can fall asleep. But really, that's just hurting us. It's not making anything better for us. I have a goal that I've set for myself next year, and I'll share this as we get closer to the new year and talk about strategies and ways to be more productive, and set some goals for yourself and establish good habits. But one of the things that I've been trying to slowly implement, and there's an episode we did in October about resolutions and how we can start setting ourselves up for success, so that way when January 1st rolls around, it's not like we're ripping off the Band-Aid. And so I started trying this. I'm not perfect at it. I'm trying to analyze and figure out how to get better at it and how to set myself up for success. But like at 7 o'clock, I'm trying really hard to not be on my phone. I've been pretty good at that, but also like not be binge watching Netflix, because I feel like that's the same as just scrolling through social media. Like, I'm just trying to zone out, and I'm losing like a good 2 hours there that maybe I could be helping myself daily. Like I could be setting myself up for success the next day or in the long run. So I think I'd be better off like reading a book or journaling or maybe like putting together a schedule or a plan for the next day or the next week or something like that, just to feel like maybe I have a little bit of a hold on my life. You know what I mean? Sometimes it feels like we can just be so out of control. So, again, whether it's focusing on gratitude or even just taking a moment, stopping and kind of recapping the day and thinking about how the day went, whether it went well or not, is a way to gamify practicing peace, a way to cultivate peace in your life. So I think that's one way that we can do that. And the holiday season, I think it's almost easier for us to do that. Sure, it's a busier time of year, but even just stopping and reminiscing about how wonderful Christmas was back in the day and traditions from your childhood, I think that would bring you some peace. So try to slow down, try to focus on gratitude, and I think you'll feel a little more peaceful. This one is going to be a tough one, but again, if we're talking tranquility, if we're talking a lack of conflict in our life, if we're talking about no longer experiencing strife, we have to practice forgiveness. Like, let the mushy parts of the season and the nostalgia be the excuse that you have to make amends with other people, to forgive in your heart. I think this is such a launching pad for us to fix things in our life if we allow the holiday season to do that for us. So get the strife out of your life, and I think you'll find peace in other seasons besides Christmas. And when I say get the strife out of your life, I'm not talking about like just cut people out. Sure, there may be some people that are toxic. There may be some people that are abusive. There may be some people that, like it just, they're mean to you. They're ugly to you, like you can try to fix that. But I think there are some situations where that person's just not meant to be in your life anymore. They were only meant to be there for a season. But I think oftentimes we are so quick to cut people out and ghost people and ignore people because we think we're protecting our peace. But I think sometimes we're really just fostering more anxiety and more stress and more grief and more loneliness in our life as well. I think this happens a lot with families. And I know families are tough. Again, you can go back and listen to the Dealing with Difficult People episode about families. But I think as much as it falls on you, like we talked about earlier, if you can forgive at the very least, maybe you don't have a conversation with them, maybe there's no resolution to the relationship where you guys are like talking more often or spending holidays together, but I think at the very least, if you can forgive somebody in your heart, it's going to do wonders for your peace, okay? And if you do feel like it needs to go a step further and there needs to be a conversation with another person, in some capacity, I think this is the perfect time to break that ice. Like sending a Merry Christmas text to get the conversation going is the perfect way to start breaking down those walls. But I think oftentimes there are relationships that we have that can be mended. It's just going to take a little bit of forgiveness. And as much as like you think that you're good right now and you're so peaceful because this person is not in your life, like if you're constantly complaining about them, if you're constantly like venting about them, then you're not at peace without them because you haven't sought a resolution with them. So maybe you need to seek that resolution, and it's going to start with forgiveness. Another way that we can cultivate peace during this time of year is letting go of perfectionism. We talked about this earlier, there's this pressure that is put on people during the holidays to perform and to decorate and to give the perfect gift and have the perfect holiday and make sure the Christmas card is perfect and the holly is hung just right and the lights are just bright enough on the outside of the house and there's just the right number of inflatables in the yard. Like, we feel like if we don't have everything so perfect, then Christmas is ruined and we're just one big failure. We shouldn't have done it in the first place, Letting go of that perfectionism is going to make Christmas so much sweeter. It's going to make for better memories. It's going to make for better, maybe it would open up doors for those traditions to come in and make Christmas better. I think Christmas should be fun. Christmas should be filled with love. Christmas should be centered on Christ. Christmas should be a time of being together with family and loved ones in any way that you can. And honestly, like getting on social media and scrolling through and thinking about how much fun other people may or may not be having is robbing you from having a peaceful holiday season. You can do Christmas however you want. It doesn't have to be the way that Hollywood tells you to have it. It doesn't need to be the way that your mom used to do it. It doesn't have to be the way that your neighbor down the street is doing it. Do Christmas your way. Invest in the people around you. Start your own traditions or carry on ones that are treasured from before. But take the pressure off of yourself to make it perfect, and you'll have more peace. Okay. Yeah, it's your Christmas, Don't let other people's business get in the way. And I think oftentimes we think that if it's not such and such as Christmas, then it's not perfect, then it's not good. But again, it's your Christmas, so enjoy it. And also, just take it as is. Like, there's gonna be things. This is what they tell brides all the time with their wedding. Like, there will be things that go wrong, okay? Don't let them ruin your wedding. Don't let them ruin your big day. There will be things that go wrong with Christmas. There will be travel delays, and there will be bad weather, and there will be bad attitudes, and there will be things that get broken or things that get burnt or things that just don't work out the way that you wanted it to. But take it in stride and understand that, like, that's part of what makes Christmas so wonderful and magical, is that even in the midst of chaos, even in the midst of things going wrong, it's still such a wonderful time of year. And if we can practice that during the holidays, how much easier is it going to be on like a normal Tuesday in the month of March? Like, it's going to be so much easier for us to protect our peace and not have it be robbed by comparison. So those are my ways that I think that we can cultivate peace in our lives this time of year especially, but ultimately like across the board, any time of year. Focusing on gratitude, stopping and reflecting, forgiving, letting go of perfectionism, and similar to this time of year, remembering the reason for the season, which is Jesus. I think putting him at the forefront of our lives day in and day out is only going to bring wonderful things to us, is only going to make life better, and only bring more peace into our life. The Bible says that we are supposed to seek first the kingdom of God, and all of these things will be added to you. So seek him first, seek his will first, get in his word and chase after what he has for you, and seek out a better relationship with him. And I think you'll see peace be given to you, be added unto you. It doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect and gumdrops and roses every single day, but I definitely think you're going to feel more peace consistently. You'll just feel that inner peace within you. So this is episode 3 of our Season's Greetings series, and we'll be back next week with another one. Again, I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but there's only 2 left. I'll let you decide which one we're going to be doing. Well, guess which one we're going to be doing next week. And I'll reveal it to you next week. How many times can I say next week? All right. Make it a good week for yourself.